Hey guys, Dustin Nguyen, and you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder, and you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
This is Paul Dini, listening to Bat Force Radio.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, and you're listening to Bat Force Radio, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to Bat Force Radio, the Batman and DC podcast with no limits. We are joined tonight by Bat Force Tom in California.
Hey.
The Grumpler in New York.
Everybody stay home.
Exactly. And I'm Robin Cross in Canada, and we are all firmly in our homes. March 25th saw the release of the finale, issue 8 of Batman Curse of the White Knight, and we were planning to have our recap of the issue and the series overall tonight, and who better to join us once again than the maestro of the series, Mr. Sean Murphy.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. It's kind of a last-minute thing. You texted me, and I was like, do you want me to be a guest? I've got fucking nothing to do tonight.
Seriously.
Because you're smart and you're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Maine is on lockdown, too, officially, so...
Yeah, everywhere it really should be. There's see so much footage of people not taking it seriously and going out just to show that they're going out.
Yeah.
Silliness.
Oh, I see somebody's holding up some artwork of mine.
It's the original first edition.
And I met you in California last year, right?
Where you did the what was that? That was the
Palm Springs.
Palm Springs Con. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
You know, it's good because I just wrapped up the payments on this a couple months ago, and
thank you for your purchase.
Yeah, well, I got that in the mail, and I was like, all right, I'm good. My first ever original art purchase page, that is. I've gotten I've done like commissions and stuff before, but I've never gotten an original page just because I just don't want to step into that pool yet.
Yeah.
Got it, and I was like, you know what? I'm good. That's it. If I don't get any other one, that's it, and be fine. And Curse of the White Knight, fantastic. Probably one of my favorite graphic novels of all time. He's never gonna top it. Never gonna top it. And then lo and behold, you come out with this one, and what the fuck, man? I love it. Probably just as much, if not more. And I'm seeing the pages come out of issue 7 specifically, and now issue 8, and I'm like, God fucking damn it.
Well, first of all, thanks for I'm honored to be the one that broke your cherry as far as buying art. I mean, there's a lot cheaper art out there, I'm sure you're aware. So going whole hog this early, I'm sure your wife is pissed at you.
She has no idea.
Oh, there you go.
So we won't tell her until I don't know. We'll figure it out when I'll tell her, But yeah, no, that's the thing. The page that I have is a specific. It's one of the ones where the '89 Batmobile is racing with Gordon in it, and he's chasing down Batman.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm a huge '89 fan. I have a massive '89 collection. I have to have that. I have to have a page.
Right.
And like I said, then this edition comes out, and at first I'm like, okay, yeah, it's great. It's the story's great. It's cool. And then the last couple of issues come out, and I'm like, motherfucker, these are some of the best images yet.
Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I was who was I hanging out with in Chicago?
That was Trunkler.
Trunkler, yeah. I was chatting with him, and I was like, we were at the bar. I think I had a few, and I'm like, all right, man. I remember when we all first met online, and you said I was the first writer that wrote a Batman story that you all collectively agreed that you liked.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. I'm like, is that still true for Curse? And if it's not, don't tell me. So if he's not here, I guess we know the truth that he didn't really like it.
I remember when we talked we were setting up for you to come on to talk about issue 1 of Curse before it came out, and you said, well, does everybody like it? Because if anybody doesn't like it, I'm not coming on.
I don't mean that. You can not like
I
it.
know.
It's okay.
we know.
I,
But yeah,
I
we
mean, I knew
genuinely do.
I knew it was going to throw some people off because the first one was such a obvious political thriller, and then this one starts out with like Castlevania, and I know readers could be like, "What the fuck? This is a totally different genre." And my hope was that people would kind of stick to it, be like, all right, we'll go, we'll go into this issue 2, issue 3. Okay, I like it. I think some people never really got into the swashbuckling stuff, which is just personal taste. But yeah, I was dying to do a book that had that stuff in it, and to go do a deep dive into Gotham to the 1600s, which I don't think anyone's gone back that far. Yeah, and I think people that stuck with it are pretty happy. I hope, at least.
Yeah, I was never a swashbuckling fan either, but given that the purpose of the swashbuckling is because it's going back into the history of Gotham and of the Waynes and stuff that directly affects Batman, so it's a very clear purpose, and it makes it interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Azrael has a sword, so it's sort of there's your hint right there. I mean, you can sort of get into sword fighting, and Alfred has swords, or it's the Wayne's swords, or it's just obviously a theme, So I thought, like, well, it can all kind of tie together, and I always thought, like, man, John Paul Valley, his last name, Valley. What if, like, this was all a fight over Gotham Valley, and they changed his last name? So I'm trying to connect some threads that people didn't really see before. And yeah, like I probably said last time, I was happy that Azrael was mostly not being used. So it was a good time to sort of try another Nightfall type of thing,
And you really wanted to buy yourself a sword, and this was a good reason to do that.
Take that, IRS. Fuck you. Hey, when I get audited, they walk into my studio like, all right, so this dot's in here. This is a write-off, some kind of business card? Like, yeah, of course. I take clients all the time. All right, well, what about that sword in the trunk? Oh, yeah, I use that in Batman. Here, check it out. It's all... I should draw a book of a yacht and just buy a yacht, and then that's a write-off too, right?
Perfect. Before I forget to mention this, so completely unrelated to White Knight, but you have the upcoming arc in Catwoman coming up that you've plotted along with Blake Northcott, and Kian Tormey was just on the show with us a couple days ago.
Yeah, I listened to that episode. That was great. Cool. Thanks for bringing him on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was great to talk to him. I was curious if Kian had ever told you the story of Klaus Janson yelling at him.
He mentioned that Klaus yelled at him, but he didn't explain why.
That's great.
That was a good story.
And Klaus is a grumpy old bastard in his own words, and I say that with a lot of love in my heart. So if you caught him in a bad mood, then who's not above yelling at some poor little Irish guy every now and then, right?
Especially if he refuses to put enough black on his page.
Is that what he did? Or did
he wasn't putting enough black on his pages, so he got yelled at.
Now, was it actually yelling and screaming, or was it like a stern talking to?
I don't know.
It was probably like an uncle, or like an uncle's way of like fucking like, hey man, wake the fuck up. What are you doing?
I guess if Klaus, sort of raises his voice to you or gets a little stern with you, you might get that, little kid feeling like, I'm getting yelled.
Yeah. It's fucking Klaus Janson. I mean, if he yelled at me, I'd shit my pants.
Yeah, he does like chide you like an uncle would. It's funny, when I would hang out with him in New York, he's like not up. He's not okay hanging out too late. So if it's like 9 p.m., 10 p.m., we'll start ordering the check. We'll get back to his apartment, and we'll make one glass of wine. And then in the minute the clock hits 11, he would stand up, no matter how many people were in his apartment, no matter what we were talking about. He would just stand up and be like, all right, everybody out. I'm tired. And he would kind of laugh a little bit, but not really. He's like, fuck it. I'm 65. All of you, you all owe everything to me. I helped reinvent Batman. It's good to see you. I love you all. Get the fuck out of my apartment. You kind of get away with that,
Yeah, absolutely.
I was not to switch subjects again. I was listening to your recent podcast with Todd McFarlane.
Oh
yes.
And when it first came on, I thought, that's not Todd. That's the guy that does Todd impressions. There's no way. That's actually Todd.
That's what everyone said. No one thought that it was really him. It was just, forget about it. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, these are all Sean Murphy impressions on these episodes too.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, we decided to it was a slow week, and we were like, "Fuck it, let's just put Todd McFarlane on the masthead. Let's just put him on the, and we'll just say it's him." And I had a couple of shots, and I just went for it for an hour and a half.
This was great, man. It sounded awesome. You even talked about sports, and you knew your shit. You
Yeah.
took a subtle dump on comics, but also took the high road at the same time. You know?
Yeah.
Talked about Ty Cobb's teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
I told
You gotta you gotta work on your Sean Murphy impression. Just say a lot and then say something benign that gets Twitter all lit on fire for some reason.
Oh, man.
Right. I have friends. Boom. Like, holy shit. Yeah, man. You know, it's funny you bring that up, and it's just a funny world. And the thing that I was telling, who was I telling? This before, I mean, good luck getting to a con now, you know, to be able to get some FaceTime with the people that matter. But I was just telling some of the rest of the guys, you know, the next chance we get where we see like somebody at DC, either it's Jim Lee or whoever in publishing, we tell them, it's like, hey, like Twitter's a fucking vacuum. And it's such a small fraction of what the actual like comic purchasers and readers think. Yeah. That don't like just let that shit die and let that shit like it's insane to me how you go to a comic shop and you ask somebody, hey man, do you like White Knight? Oh yeah, I love it. You know who's writing it? I think so. Yeah, Sean Murphy, right? Yeah. What do you think? Oh, I think it's great. And that's it.
Yeah. That's all that should matter. Yeah.
That's
I agree.
and that's literally, I would say 90% of comic readers out there, they don't go on Twitter to fucking bitch and moan. They go into the comic shop, they buy the books, they read it, they enjoy it. If they enjoy it, they continue to look at your name that's on it, and what else has this guy done?
Right.
And that's like the majority of everyone who's reading right now.
Because that's the people that are actually buying the books.
Right.
The Twitter
all these people who are bitching and complaining, most of them have press access and get free books digitally and aren't paying for anything. So to be honest, their opinion is not really worth shit.
Yeah, I agree.
And so it's why worry about them. But you know, it's the blue check marks, and there's all these blogs that put way too much weight on certain people who don't matter, and it's a shame.
Yeah. That's the truth, man. 100%. It doesn't matter. And if you say to Twitter that their fighting doesn't matter, that's enough to get outrage. Because a lot of people, their careers aren't where they want them to be. They're pissed that they're not paying their bills. They thought they were going to have more of a foot in the door by now, and they're not. So they're scoring points. So they're not literally getting money to pay their bills, but they're getting fulfilled in other ways, like emotional fulfillment. Like Twitter doesn't matter to me. I don't need Twitter to be relevant. I have my comics. But for a lot of the angry people on Twitter, Twitter very much matters to them because that's the only thing that they feel gives them a foot in the door. And I mean, you tell them that what they're doing doesn't really matter, they just lose their shit, you know? Yeah. I said it recently, and I didn't mean to be controversial, but you know, I always put my foot in my mouth. I said, Wizard really did a good job of making comic artists look cool, and then Twitter came along and revealed the truth about us. And I include myself in that too. Like it took me a long time to learn how to talk at shows, how to go to bars, what not to say. How to be cool and how not to get ruffled and try to have a thick skin. Like it takes a lot of practice to do that, and I wasn't always good at it. I mean, you go back long enough in my tweets, I'm sure you'll find stuff that'll piss you off, and who knows, you know. But yeah, I agree, it doesn't matter at all. But to them, they really think it matters. But the game now is just to dunk on each other on Twitter. But at the end of the day, it doesn't actually move the needle as far as sales are concerned.
No.
Right.
And that's why we hope that the publishers understand that, we just hope that they're as aware as we are that these people are just a very vocal minority, and please God, don't listen to them.
I don't know if they do. I hope, like when the stuff happened with me a few weeks ago, and I just got off Twitter, I didn't respond at all, and it's just like, man, for 4 days it would just not go away.
Yeah.
And I called someone high up at DC, I won't say who, and I said, listen, like, I don't care about this stuff at all. I don't think it really matters. Do you? Because if you care, this guy's my boss. If you care, then I care, of course. And I'm not sure if they care, if they really think it matters. I know they don't want to be bothered by PR people telling them they need to have a meeting. I know they don't want interrupting their flow. But it's hard to say because, as you know, I mean, a lot of companies are very reactionary to online boycotts and hate mail and all that stuff,
Yeah. and it's the art suffers because of it, unfortunately. You know, and it sucks, especially right now, because it's such a weird time with like the coronavirus scare stuff and how shops are in a real bind right now, and it's I don't know, it's gonna be, I really hope that the online world doesn't get more clout than it already has. But like I said, the thing is at least with us, and I think real comic fans, what matters is you read a book, you enjoy the content, whether it be the art or the story or both.
Yeah.
And you go back and you see who created it, who made it, and then you follow those people. And like I said, 90% of the people who pick up a comic book, they don't really dive too deep into Twitter, or they might listen to us, they might listen to podcasts, or they might listen to interviews because they want to know more about the story.
Right.
But how many of them really give a shit about anything beyond that?
You're right. Yeah. They don't. They don't pay attention to previews. They don't read interviews of mine, and nor should they. I mean, if they do, great. But honestly, I mean, most people realize that my next Batman is on sale when they literally show up at the comic book shop and they see issue 1 on the shelf and they go, "Oh shit, that's out."
Yeah.
And the owner pulled a copy aside. Like that's most readers. They don't actually go through previews and have pull lists and read interviews. And like my favorite actor, one of them is like, Al Pacino. I've never read an interview by Al Pacino. I don't know what he thinks about Donald Trump. I don't know if he pays all his tax. Like, I have no idea. I don't even follow him on Twitter. Like, I don't know why it works. It doesn't work this way in comics. I think it's because a lot of creators are dumb enough to respond and to get in the mud with some of these trolls,
Yeah.
Sean, I think if somebody went back to your Twitter feed, they'd find out you're not perfect and also a human being at the same time.
Yeah. Shocker.
Yeah.
But the thing that's funny though is like you're the guy that got heat, but you're also the guy that is probably, at least in the last, like, when did you start White Knight? What year was that?
2017.
So since 2017, like, I think if you ask pretty much most people, like, you have ran probably the best Twitter account that any creator probably in recent memory has, because you've made it strictly about like just what you're putting out. You don't get into it with trolls. You're not like posting opinions about. I mean, it doesn't matter what it could be. Like, you're not talking about the fucking brand of paper that you're using. Like,
right.
You're just putting out the product, and you're wanting to make sure that it's quality, and you want to make sure that the fans that are reading it enjoy it. And you're actually a guy that like takes in feedback from readers and who takes it to heart.
Yeah, I try, man. I mean, even when people are mostly great. Every 1 out of 100 can come across as rude, and I don't think they mean to. And I think if you give them the benefit of the doubt, they'll snap to it and treat you with respect if you treat them with respect.
Right.
And I mean, I don't know.
Well,
sorry. Go ahead. No, that was it.
I was gonna say, so I mean, at least with us, for the most part, we bitch and we complain about certain things. What I like about our group and the interviews that we do, we never spend any time, at least on the episodes that we record. If we don't like it, we just don't talk about it.
Right.
If we don't care for a specific creator, we're not going to interview him. It's just as easy as that, And the thing is what I hope is this stuff, the heat that you get, whatever, doesn't cut into at all of the announcements that you've made, made probably like a couple of days before everyone lost their shit. Because the stuff you were saying about what's coming and the stuff that you're saying that you've been kind of given control of, all of us were like, holy shit, that's going to be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, has anything changed? Is there any updates on that stuff, or is it still rolling through?
It's still fine. It's all intact. Okay. I mean, at the end of the day, to be capitalist about this, let's say I was an asshole. Let's say I was the worst things that people were saying about me on Twitter. My stuff's on time. I'm still easy to work with. The quality of the product, hopefully, is there. I'm never late. It makes DC money. So shut the fuck up. Now, on top of that, I am not those things that people said. Right. I am as liberal as a lot of the people attacking me, but I'm not caught in my bubble, and I have conservative friends. So I speak and say things a little differently than they would like, and that's
How
that's
dare you?
what gets me into trouble. I know.
I was shocked because some of the things I was reading, I was like, man, I thought the complete opposite of Sean Murphy. Like, oh, where are you getting this stuff from?
Yeah, man. Honestly,
they haven't talked to you.
It's boiling over. I don't do enough shows. I don't talk a lot. I don't engage with the Twitter communities. And here I am at the top of the mountain with a hit book, about to roll out new books. I'm literally a kingmaker if I want to have a white knight universe. And I said to them, I'm only hiring people that are nice to customers, which that people think it's a dog whistle. It's not. I've been saying that for 10 years. I always think that customers first. I know that Comicscape uses that too. I'm not going to change the way I talk just because of them. And I don't want to hire a writer or an artist who's going to cause drama online, and I'm going to get text from this artist like, hey, man, can you step in and defend me? Like, I don't want to deal with that shit. Yeah. So that's all I meant by saying that. And I probably should have thought about how it looked, but I didn't because I probably just didn't care at the time. And then, 4 days later, I'll usually have a pretty thick skin, but after 4 days, that came close to breaking me. I was really tired and disgusted. And then luckily coronavirus came along and distracted everybody. Even the stuff that's flaring up on Twitter now, it's like, guys, the comic book industry is the Titanic. We just hit an iceberg. We might not go down, but we've got some time here to do some shit. And a lot of creators are in first class having pissing contests while people in steerage are sinking. Like, what are you doing? There's bigger fish to fry right now. Do we really want to be arguing over this while the ship is, recuperating from whatever the hell we're supposed to do? Yeah. I just don't understand how people. I think maybe because they're so scared of the what's going to happen to the industry, it's more fun to just pick off these small fights that they're used to and ignore, the 500-pound elephant in the room.
What do you think? Man, it's a dark time. So there's a lot of not all, but a lot of states have comic shops just aren't able to open right now unless they are able to either deliver through mail, or have some sort of either like delivery or mail order or something like that. Right. What do you think fans can do to keep the industry at least afloat? What can because we can only do what we can do as fans. So as fans, what do you think we can do to help?
I think you should buy digital. I think you should support the digital transition. I'm not saying we need to switch over to a digital model, but that is the only way that publishers have right now to make any kind of money back. So if one thing we get out of this is people are more willing to buy digital, and maybe publishers are willing to lower the price of digital, because you're not actually printing anything. I don't know why a comic has to cost the same price, digital versus real. I think there's an opportunity here to switch gears. And I know that scares comic book shops because the culture in shops for years has been Wednesday warriors come in, they pick up their pull box, we joke around, we complain about our husbands and wives, talk about video games, you pay your $50 for the books and you leave. And that's what they're used to, is the serialization of customers coming in every week. If half the shops are gone, I don't know if that's a model we can hold on to anymore. My hope is that we embrace a European model in the next 6 months, meaning you don't have monthlies unless it's like big titles like Batman, Spider-Man, X-Men, whatever. But a lot of stuff gets moved onto straight to graphic novel. So like in Europe, you wait a year for volume 2 of the book. It's like 50 pages. It's beautifully colored. It's never late. They take their time in Europe. There are hundreds of comic book shops in France that are able to make money without serialized comics. They can do it. So there's no reason why we can't do it, the thing that I keep telling people that are really scared right now is, this is kind of like our D-Day moment in a way. This is our, stay calm and carry on type moment. And we've been through worse. We are still the same country that we were in 1930s when women had to go to work for the men, and we started to have nickel drives and steel drives and all those. We are still the same people. We will figure this out. And the same thing, the comics is the problems that we're running into. restaurants are running into. I mean, airlines are running into. Like, we are not special. And the thing that we have to our advantage is that idiots like me will draw for free because we really, I have no choice but to create because I love it so much. Like, yeah, I get a good paycheck now, but if you took that away from me, I'd probably still find ways to do comics. So the money it takes for us to get started up again isn't that big compared to an airline or a restaurant. I think we're still going to see comics for a long, 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 long time because the willingness of creators to do it and do it well for very little cost. I mean, half the industry makes below poverty line anyway. I mean, in a way, nothing's really going to change for them. As far as how the books are going to get delivered, is it straight to graphic novel? Do we go back to monthlies? Do we boost digital from now on? You know, personally, sorry, this is getting a little bit long.
No, it's important.
Personally, I would love it if I had twice as many customers, but they all bought digital books that were half off. So instead of paying $5.99 for Batman, I'd rather have. So say I have 100,000 copies of Batman I sold for $5. I would rather have 200,000 units digital, and all those readers spent $2.50 each. It's the same money coming in, but now I have twice the fan base. And, you know, way more people going to shows, way more people paying attention to Batman, way more people buying, you know, Batman pajamas, you know, contributing to the economy of Batman. Like, I think I would rather have that, honestly. Yeah, again, I know that scares the shit out of shops that are dependent on Wednesday Warriors, but we've seen a lot of smart shops start to diversify anyway with Funko Pops, T-shirts, whatever the hell it is. You know what I mean? I think smart shops will figure a way out of this. I don't know. I mean, each one is going to have its own unique solution, of course. But I am not scared about the future. I know we're going to hit some rough times. We'll have to rethink some things, but I think there might be some real opportunity here too to improve some things. In some ways, I feel like comics is on borrowed time. I mean, the fact that I just bought Assassin's Creed for $5 on Switch, yet you guys bought, you know, Batman White Knight, read it in 20 minutes, and you're done with it forever. I mean, it's crazy that we still sell these things when you can get a video game for $5. You know?
Yeah.
So,
you know, yeah,
right.
it's. No, you made a lot of excellent points. I think something that I hope maybe comics kind of looks at is kind of what happened to the music industry.
Exactly.
That, you know, like with CDs and records and people going into record stores and buying physical media, and then the internet, like, and this you could replace the internet with the coronavirus, I guess, but the internet just fucking destroyed that because people then could just go and steal what they want.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like, you couldn't do anything to stop it. So you had to adjust, and a lot of record companies, you know, they faded away. A lot of record stores closed. There's barely any record stores anymore at all.
Yeah.
But there's a few. And what that proves is there's still a group of people who are loyal that are going to be there to buy physical media if it's offered. Yeah, it might not be the masses that it used to be. Yeah. But I think there is still hope for comic shops if they find a way to survive right now. Mm-hmm. Like, I think, you know, maybe DC or whoever has to stick to, like you said, like, maybe instead of floppies, they stick to hardcover graphic novels from now on.
Right.
And they put more money into that because, you know, then you get more bang for your buck. You're still getting physical media. People are still getting the physical pages and the covers. And I mean, I'll never be able to stop buying comics if it's there, just because you love having something to pass down, you know, or to share. Right. And as collectors, like, it's just kind of in our blood and DNA to want to do it.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, man, you make a lot of good points. It's definitely a time for people to look at what needs to change and how we can kind of advance, you know, with the times. But what's good though is we like to be kind of a beacon for you guys, for the creators, to put a spotlight on and say, hey, you like this? Well, check out this fucking guy, because he's putting out some of the best stuff that we read. So you need to follow him. You need to support him. Yeah. And as much as we can, we're hopefully going to try to do that, you know, whatever direction that the industry goes. That's kind of what our job is going to be, is to redirect traffic towards the guys that we want to see survive. So
yeah, you guys are super helpful. I mean, you're having, you know, well thought out, positive adult conversations about the thing you love. You know, that's why I've clicked with you guys so quickly. I think that's probably the case with all of your guests, is you're just very personable. You're doing way more than you need to do to support the industry. For your listeners, if they want to kick into Kickstarters and crowd funds, in a way though, you The average customer doesn't need to do anything except let us do the work. Let the industry get on its feet again. We will figure out a way to bring you product, and then it's up to you to not lose faith in us and spend the money when it's time. So let us dig our way out of this hole, and then I'm just asking people, don't forget about comics. Don't be the guy like, oh yeah, I used to read up until 2019, and then I don't know, I just kind of fell out of it. That's what I want to avoid, is when people put us off their radar completely.
Yeah. I don't think that's gonna happen though. I mean, I'm a little older than the other guys, and I've been through like 12 inches, 12-inch records, tapes, CDs, and now I'm on Spotify. Like,
yeah,
if you guys, like you were saying, Sean, just find a way to deliver the stories, I think there's going to be a group of us there to consume it. And one way, even with movies, VHS and DVD. I was packing away DVDs the other day, like, oh God, wow,
yeah.
DVDs. And it's too lazy to get off the couch. If it's not on Netflix, I'm not watching it.
Yeah, right.
It's true.
That's the funny thing. I mean, Netflix wiped out Blockbuster. I mean, there were mom and pop shops, salaries at stake, 401ks. I mean, think about what that did. It's just our turn. It's just our turn to go through this. And we'll go through it.
And even Netflix has changed with the times. When Netflix began, they mailed out DVDs to people.
Yeah.
Now it's a thing that there's actually, I have on my remote control for my TV, there's a button that says Netflix.
Yep.
And I press that button and it opens Netflix.
I can't wait till I just on my phone, I just push my comics button.
Yeah.
And then my comics come out in a 3D rendering right on my phone.
Oh man.
I
love it.
There's a way to capture it though, because even though people aren't buying physical media for music, there's all these SoundCloud rappers that are making millions of dollars off one song. Yep. One song turns into a hit, and millions of people will stream it, and that'll add a bunch of. So if there's that's the thing is to capture the youth. The young kids are the ones who are in mass sharing it with friends. If college kids, high school kids, that's where it goes. Everyone's sharing it all together. Every kid is going to connect with another kid. Finding a way to somehow capture that way that a SoundCloud rapper has a hit song, one freaking hit song that multi-millions of people will listen to. You find one comic that millions and millions of people will read. It's that's how you got to figure it out somehow.
Yeah, you're right. Honestly, and these younger kids, they're not interested in the smell of paper like we are, and that's okay. If they love the smell of their iPad, while they're zooming from panel to panel, hey, whatever. If their money's green, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Well, I take offense to that. Our money is very colorful over here in Canada.
and it smells delicious, doesn't it?
Yeah, it literally does. I have a photo. One of my favorite things I have is a photo of Mike Mignola smelling my Canadian money.
How did you get that? What happened?
I was talking to him in San Diego last year, and I forget. I think the conversation started with, I think it was his wife that was there. We were talking about the Canadian money because our money is it's plastic.
Oh yeah.
So she was referencing the difference in our money because she had been in Canada, and I said, and it smells too. It smells like our $100 bills have a distinct maple syrup smell. It sounds funny, but yeah, so as soon as I said this, she said, no way. So I pulled one out and I showed her, because you have to activate it. If you fold it over and rub it against itself, somehow that activates the smell in it. So I handed it to her, she smelled it, and then she goes, oh my God, Mike, smell this. So she hands it to Mike, and I happen to have my phone, I'm fucking taking a picture of this. And then it was months later, someone had posted something about being thankful for Mike Mignola, and I replied to it that I was thankful for this photo of Mike Mignola smelling my Canadian money, and Mike replied, smells like maple syrup.
Oh man, that sounds like an urban legend. Does it actually smell like maple syrup? Did they actually the Money Factory in Canada? Do they actually add maple syrup?
I don't know, but if everything gets if the world gets back on its feet in time, I'll show you some of it in Toronto.
I think the reason it smells like maple syrup, these are $100 bills, you said?
Yeah.
I think it's because you guys snort your maple syrup every morning with $100 bills.
So us fat cats eating our breakfast in the morning.
Yeah.
We've been way off topic here, but
No, we need
I
to
want to
talk about
talk.
this stuff, though.
Yeah. Some of the stuff was important, but I do want to get a little bit more on Curse of the White Knight because, yeah, like you mentioned, it was very different. It was a very different story from the first chapter, which was political and had all of that stuff to it. Curse of the White Knight was just based in the history of Gotham and then takes us into the future of Gotham.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think each of these volumes are going to just feel very different. And I think it's just because I'm interested in so many different types of genres. So, the first one is my political drama. This one was a historical drama. And the next one will be like a sci-fi drama. I think what I'd like to do is, Bruce is in jail. Maybe he for 10 years. And, all the money that he's infused into Gotham has turned it into Blade Runner. Like, I remember watching the animated series, and like season 1 starts out and characters are watching TVs in black and white. And then when Bruce is an old man in Batman Beyond, they literally have flying cars. It's like, whoa, that's like a 200-year leap in technology. And Bruce is 65. Like, how does that make sense? And the answer, it doesn't. You're not supposed to question it. But I thought, what if Bruce's money infused in the city actually gave Gotham like a massive upgrade? And they don't quite have flying cars, but he gets out of jail and he doesn't recognize the city anymore because it looks like Batman Beyond. And the reason that it grew so quickly was because of his fortune and the money he infused into it. And of course, the reason he has busted out of jail is because someone stole the Batman Beyond costume and he needs to figure this out. And I think one of the things I want to play with is, I think that he's still Batman. Even it doesn't matter if everyone knows that he's Bruce Wayne. It doesn't matter if he doesn't have any money. It doesn't. I mean, as long as he has like a grizzled attitude and some kind of bat-shaped costume, he's Batman.
Yeah.
So I mean, I enjoyed taking everything away from him in Curse because I still think, like, I don't think those are sacred cows necessarily. I'm pretty sure it's still going to be a decent Batman book, even when everybody knows who he is. Like, the character doesn't change for me. And one of the ideas I had was, in the future, all the cops are like way more advanced than the most advanced Batman suit. So in order to stay off the grid, Bruce designs a bat suit that is low tech and it just hides his body signature. Like, it doesn't have metal on it. It doesn't have any gizmos. It's just him, basically. And the cops in the future, it's like in Demolition Man. They're all a bunch of pussies and they don't know how to do their jobs anymore.
Murder, death, kill.
It's a good rat burger.
Rat? You see any cows around here? You see any cars? See any cows walking around here?
Yeah, and in the future, like, the cops are totally unprepared for a vigilante that's not showing up on camera, that they can't track down. He's on foot. I mean, he even goes on foot anymore, and that's kind of how he stays ahead of everybody. I mean, keep in mind at this point he'd be like a 65-year-old man, but he's Batman, so he's got some fight left in him.
I love it. So no matter what, even if you're not Bruce Wayne, you're Batman. Right. Like, it's cool because that's totally in an episode of Batman Beyond when I think it's a couple episodes in, and Batman gets abducted, and I forget what happens, but there's a robot or is a clone, I can't remember. But then how did you know, or how did you know that it was really you versus not? And he goes, because I don't call myself Bruce in my own head.
Oh yeah.
What do you call yourself? And then he just kind of taps on his temple, and then Terry goes, well, that's actually me now. And Bruce is like, no, it's not. It won't ever be. So it's like, no matter what, like, he's not Bruce Wayne. He's Batman. And even in his own head, he calls himself Batman.
Yeah. Because he's a maniac. I mean, this is why. I mean, I made it. He's not the bad guy in my books, but he's not the White Knight in shining armor, so to speak. No. Like, he is one bad day away from being another super criminal. Period. But in a way, that's what makes him so awesome. That's what makes him so effective. Like, yeah, he's got flaws. He breaks bridges and shatters people's homes all the time. And maybe he should be really careful about that. But it doesn't mean we don't enjoy reading about it.
Right. There's Go ahead, Robin.
Okay, I was just going to say, so you delved a little bit into what the future of Gotham is going to be, after Bruce having gone to jail. And, obviously anyone listening has already read the book. So final page, we get the reveal of Jason Todd. So obviously Jason is going to be instrumental in Bruce's future.
Yes.
But outside of this stuff, people, everyone loves the Murphyverse as much as we do, the White Knight universe, whatever you want to call it. Now, we know that there are some other things that are coming up. This story planted some seeds for Harley and the twins that she and Jack had.
Right.
We have stuff set up with Nightwing and Barbara, maybe Duke.
Mhm.
Are you allowed, or am I allowed to say anything about what's coming up, or is that still under your hat?
So I can't make an official announcement, but let me see if I can ride the line somehow here. It would be silly of me not to do a Harley Quinn story, right?
Oh shit!
Exactly. I agree.
It would be silly not to do a Nightwing story with Batgirl in it. It would be silly not to do a Neo Joker story where she is with Ivy.
Oh shit!
And I also had the idea of doing a Jason Blood story where he's basically the Highlander, but I'm not sure anybody would read that except for me.
Well, I'm into that, and I wanted to pick your brain about some other things, like a Lafayette story. We could get more into Edmund and an expanded look at what was happening in Gotham in those early days.
I would love that. Yeah. So I want to do all of those things eventually. I'm currently doing 2 of those things, and I think we mentioned about 5. So I've got writers and artists cranking out 2 books right now, as well as helping working with Blake Northcott on the Catwoman book, which is not a White Knight book. I do have an idea for Catwoman for White Knight as well, but that is probably not going to be something I work on until next year. But yeah, basically DC, we don't use the word imprint, but they said, do you want to do some spin-offs of your book? And you could just be like the manager of them. And I said, sure. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. I would love it if my stuff, even if I wasn't writing and drawing it, I would love it if my books always ended up on the top 10 and I ended up becoming like a steady moneymaker for DC, like a good solid, like, oh, we can always count on Sean's books. Like that's what I'd like to happen. I don't necessarily see myself as a manager of these things. Like, I'm just not wired that way. Though, with the way that Scott Snyder writes 5 books a month and is dealing with a handful of artists or writers at all times and artists, like he's got spreadsheets on his walls and whiteboards, and just I'm not wired that way. Like, I want to sit here and draw my book and kind of be left alone. If I can help a few books happen on the side without massively disrupting that, then I'm fine doing it. But like, I'll never be like a Jim Lee or a Todd McFarlane. No offense to those guys at all. Like, I see myself as more of a lone gun type of guy. But if I can help usher these other books in and make a little bit of money on the side, make readers happy, I'm happy to do it. But I don't think it's going to take off in a massive way, just because I don't have the output, and I don't want to jeopardize the quality of it too. Like, if there were suddenly 6 White Knight books at once, like, I think that would be really bad, and I think people would get burned out really quickly. So I'd like to release this stuff slowly, carefully, and really get the best creators I can, the best writers and artists, and people that are good to their customers.
How dare
well,
you?
So far, I like the I like that you work with people that you either know how they are or just know them. Hopefully, for maybe when this Harley thing is coming around, maybe we can do some sort of episode where we help introduce the author of that one to our audience.
Yes, that would be excellent.
Be
I was actually telling that author today that I'm doing a podcast with Bat Force Radio, and I said, "Oh, I'm pretty sure that they're going to ask you to be on it next." So she was excited.
Oh, you just said she.
Yep.
Spoilers.
Beep.
I just narrowed it down by 5% of the industry.
Yeah. Sean, and how dare you, by the way, employ women? Like, obviously, that just shows your true colors, you asshole.
I know. I'm not much for feminist. I mean, you should, if you really respect women, you should let them make their own way, not try to knight them, right?
You disgust me. Sean, real quick. There's a guy on Instagram. He also has his own website, which is called AzraelOnline.net. Biggest fucking Azrael fan I've ever met. He's been like literally just pumping out Azrael content for years. And when this, I mean, he loved White Knight.
I think I know his avatar.
There you go. Well, I think you'd be very familiar with it. And what's funny is when I remember hearing you talk about who was going to be in the second edition. Like he pretty much lost his mind. He was so happy because Azrael has been out of the comics for so long in a very important way. Yeah. So I had to ask him, hey man, like we're having Sean back on. He's wrapping up the second part. Like, do you have any questions? And he probably gave me three questions that are better than anything we've already asked you.
Great.
But you just answered it a little bit, but he asked, since the Murphyverse is expanding, bringing in other writers that you approve of, are you going to be the driving the general ideas of the stories? Or are you letting them take the reins and giving them free rein with specific criteria?
So what I'd like to do is work with friends and people I trust, people I know, who I have good relationships with. I'd like to write a synopsis for a 4 to 6 issue miniseries and say, here's what I want for the story. Here's where I think issue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 should end. Here's what I want for the finale. I would like you to stick to this, but I also don't want to step on your toes as a creator. If you find a better way to do things, then do it. Like, I don't want to micromanage anybody. So what I would do is write the Bible for the book and do some sketches and provide covers and trust the talent to take it where they see fit.
Cool.
Yeah.
He asked another great question too. So, this was something I was really interested also because you just overall, the first one, White Knight in general, you definitely played with things that were kind of already existent in the Batman universe.
Yeah.
This one, you fucking went all in, and it is literally just your shit. And because it's your ship, you are burning that motherfucker down the way you want to.
Right.
So, you mentioned that. Well, let me ask this. So, John Paul Valley, his sort of loss of sanity was kind of through PTSD. So he thinks that was brilliant. It makes him more of a sympathetic character because of that. Right. What brought on that idea? What was the intent?
I got my inspiration from Rambo: First Blood.
Damn.
Yeah. Who does the Stallone accent? Let's hear it.
They drew first blood. They drew first blood.
Rambo, what do you think about John Paul Valley's tactics in Gotham?
Well, I gotta tell you, to be honest with you, I see myself a lot in him, and I'm just driving through this town, minding my own business, trying to find my friend from the military. All of a sudden, he dies of cancer, and I got this guy on my back, just because of the way I look and the way I dress.
Oh, man.
And what do you expect me to do, man?
Hey, Todd McFarlane, what do you think about Azrael?
I mean, Azrael's fucking cool, but obviously there's some inspiration that you took from somebody. I mean, he's got the cape, he's got the, he's got the mask and all that. I mean, you want to put Spot in your book, just ask Sean.
Oh man, what do you think, Dan DiDio?
Well, Sean, it's a funny story, I wish I could comment, but as it turns out, I'm not really able to at this time. But if you ever want to come over and start something with me, then I'm all ears.
Oh man! All right, I'll leave you alone now. That was good.
Oh yeah, that was the best part of the episode right there.
You did it, man. Thank you for entertaining me for 5 minutes.
Yeah, something about Azrael Online there. One thing that I always appreciate, because he posts a lot about Curse of the White Knight. Every issue is coming up, he's posting about it. And the thing that I don't want to say it surprised me, but it was refreshing to see someone who was that steadfast a fan of a particular character didn't just turn up their nose at a new take on and just say, this isn't Azrael like I like him, and
totally.
You just shoot it down. He gave it a shot and enjoyed it, and that's very cool.
I was very, very worried about that. I thought, man, I'm making him like 55 or 60. He's old. I had him in Vietnam, honestly, and my editor said, he'd be too old. There's no way he'd pose a threat to Batman. And I'm like, yeah, but like Vietnam is the war that really broke soldiers, and I feel like that fits Azrael. Plus, it fed into First Blood. And they were like, no, we want him to be younger than Batman. And I'm like, I can't, man. Like, I'll make him 55, like, but I can't go any younger than that. And then I made him sort of overweight, like still fit, still like a linebacker, still massive, but he's got a little gut, like a lot of 55-year-old guys.
Yeah, like I think he had the look of professional fighters when they get to that age. Like he has the physique of like Mark Coleman.
Yeah.
That's right. That's how he looks.
So in the office, everyone was like, "Oh, Sean's doing a book with Fat Azrael," and I pull out the art. I'm like, his shoulders are massive, his arms are huge. Like, just because someone isn't drawn typical DC style 6-pack fit, you just throw it. Like that's male shaming.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're fat shaming you, dude.
Like they did to Momoa.
As someone who identifies with that body type, I take offense to it. Because I'm happy to see you finally, giving me representation.
Exactly. And if Azrael wants to sniff a bunch of maple syrup every morning, that's his right.
Like, you can come over here and fucking smell our money with me. I think it added to the threat that Azrael possessed, that he was, but obviously he was still so giant that he was a physical force. But the fact that he was older and the cancer thing, along with his delusion, being on this mission, having nothing to lose, really made him that, it made him dangerous.
Yeah,
and it made him a threat.
I think the reason why maybe it worked was because it felt like the Azrael from the 90s kept aging, and this is about the age he would be anyway. So I feel like a lot of readers who like Azrael feel like they got caught up with Azrael in his older years, so to speak. So I think in a way, like, it kind of worked to my advantage. But yeah, I thought people were going to turn on me because, like, he's too fat, he should have glasses and blonde hair and be a nerd. But I knew that he needed the God stuff in there. I knew he needed to be intense, and I knew I had to draw the connection between he is Batman, but even more so, I went further to say he is a Wayne, and he's literally a Wayne. And that was an idea I wasn't sure that they would go with. In fact, when I first pitched the idea that Bruce is not a Wayne, they said no. And then they said, actually, you should totally do that because this is Elseworlds, kind of. So, yeah, go ahead. Like, we would never let you do this in the main line, but yeah, try it out here. Sure, whatever, weirdo.
Yeah, no, but that's why this series has been so. I mean, I was kidding, but I'm serious. The first one was great. I mean, first one was amazing. This one, though, I feel like it's like 100% you, and like you're off your fucking rocker with all the like, you didn't let up, man. Like, you didn't give us time to breathe at like any turn, and that's what is so enjoyable about it, is that you're creating a story that people aren't expecting with the main Batman title, because with the main Batman title, you can't do this stuff,
Yeah. And I want to do it in a way that feels like it's still serious. Like, it's still very much a familiar Gotham. It's not like everyone is, Batman in space or Batman as a cowboy. Like, it's not too removed from the regular Batman anyway. I mean, in a way, it does what every Batman movie does. Like, every Batman movie is basically Elseworlds, if you think about it. They take liberties. They make Batgirl Alfred's daughter, whatever it is, put nipples on the Batman costume.
Kill the villain at the end.
Yeah. So,
Uncle Alfred.
Karate laundry.
Oh,
this is what you didn't put in here, was karate laundry. I was kind
of love karate laundry.
But sorry, I lost my train of thought. Fuck.
But one thing you didn't do, you didn't take the safe road. Like, you could have looked at the success of White Knight and said, okay, people like this, I'm going to do this again for Volume 2. But you broke the mold and did really daring shit like that. I remember talking to you a little bit before the issue came out, where Bruce finds out that he's not a Wayne, and you were really saying, well, how do you think people are going to react to that?
Yeah.
So you're clearly apprehensive, but
one of you always reaches out to me at the most opportune time, and you become my therapist, and I'm secretly worried that people are going to turn on me. And someone else was like, I I asked, like, did I put too much pirate stuff in there? Maybe people don't care about pirates. And one of you were like, no, I love naval history. I was like, yeah, naval history.
Naval history.
That sounds way better than pirates.
Naval history. It's amazing.
I work in a comic shop, so I spend a lot of time talking to the people who are not the Twitter crowd that you hear most voices from, but the people who don't know what's happening. Exactly.
In the real world?
What do you mean, you people? The people who don't even know what's happening on Twitter. They're the people that just go into comic shops and buy books and read them and tell you what they think of books, and aren't concerned with what the latest lynching is on Twitter.
We need like Twitter for people that don't want to be on Twitter. I think that would be a good version of Twitter. I know it would get destroyed very quickly. But, like Twitter 2.0, and you could have like a service. I don't know, something to keep the trolls away. But yeah, man.
We used to say that about Instagram, but really Twitter is such a more toxic place, far more than Instagram is.
Yeah, it's because you can like. It's just people say whatever. You can say whatever you want to somebody without any like repercussion.
Yeah.
I think part of Twitter is the retweet nature of it, because you can say something shocking about a person and get, 5,000 people to retweet it. And you're like, look at how many people are sharing my name.
Right. Yeah.
Smelling your own fart.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It feels, cancel culture, like, it feels good to take someone down. It's like the finishing move in Mortal Kombat when you pull out someone's spine. I mean, there's a bloodlust nature to it. And, but these are people's lives at stake and careers, and you're digging into their savings and their kids' college. I mean, I think people think of us sometimes as, just fictional characters, just like Spider-Man or Batman. But at the end of the day, I mean, even if I disagree with another creator, I'm not going to go after them on Twitter, because these are still human beings and we still live in the same country. We still have to get along, Sorry,
well, if that's the case, if you guys are not superheroes, why have I seen you in a Spider-Man costume? That's another story.
Going back to what you said before, yeah, with White Knight, like I like that it's anybody can die in White Knight. Like the rules of most comics don't apply. Like Batman could have killed Azrael at the end, he didn't. But because I've set up this topsy-turvy nature where you're not sure how far it's going to go, like most comics are not going to kill Gordon and then kill the Joker, and then Harley Quinn is going to kill the Joker. So Batman could have lost his shit on Azrael at the end.
And Azrael had a huge body count in this story. He killed Jim Gordon, Bane, Scarecrow, Croc, Baby Doll, Roxy Rocket, Two-Face, Riddler. Jesus, there aren't many people left for the White Knight universe.
Baby Doll, infanticide, Sean, really?
I know. I swore that they were going to make me draw that. Like, he's literally stabbing a child in the back. And I sent in the art, and they're like, okay, no notes. All right, great. Did they see the panel? All right, I'm not going to say anything. It got colored, and my color showed me, hey, man, did DC see this panel? I'm like, hey, they approved it. Just color it. All right. Go through it, slattered. Yeah, and I didn't get any outrage on that. I mean, I guess she's like 30 years old or something, right?
Yeah, she's like
like that girl that the people on TV adopted and then found out she was like 30.
Oh my god!
Is that a real thing?
Yeah.
Does she smell like maple syrup?
I believe that was the way that she tricked them into adopting her.
I thought she smelled like cabbage.
She's all sticky and she's clearly a kid.